definition of surrender means to give up control of something to someone else. And I'm not gonna lie, when I used to hear people talk about surrender to God, it used to scare me. It used to make me uncomfortable because I was a control freak. And that's because I didn't trust God. I knew God existed and I saw what he did for others, but subconsciously, I didn't think I was worthy of him doing that for me. I didn't believe he would help little old me. So I was constantly having such a tight grip on everything because I'm like, if I let go of control, everything's going to fall apart. I don't trust God to help me. So I have to make things happen through my own will. I just have to lead myself and figure things out on my own. And guess what? It got me nowhere. Now, here's the scary thing about surrendering to God: everything will fall apart before it comes together. Think about the story of Joseph. His brothers sold him into slavery. Then he was falsely accused and thrown in prison. It seemed like everything was working against him. And he could have easily said, Lord, why? Why are you doing this to me? He could have turned his back on God, but he didn't. And even though it seemed like everything was working against him, everything was actually working out for him because him being thrown in prison led him to meet somebody and come in contact with somebody who not only ended up being tied to his freedom, but also being tied to him being put in a higher position. I can't remember what position they put him in, so please forgive me. If you know the story of Joseph, please feel free to comment. But when it seemed like everything was working against him, it was actually working out for him behind the scenes, but he had to surrender. And those moments when it seems like everything is working against you, if you don't turn your back on God and you say, you know what, Lord, I don't understand. I'm going to be real. I don't understand why you're doing this, but I still trust you. That is when he is going to elevate you. But don't think once you surrender, everything is just going to fall into place. No, expect everything to actually fall apart first. Reason for this process is because God has to train you. He has to build your faith. It's easy to say you have faith in God when everything's going your way, but when it's not, that's the true test. You have to be willing to give up anything. You have to be willing to walk away from anything. You have to be willing to detach yourself from anything God tells you to, no matter how hard it is. I'm going to be very transparent. I recently surrendered my cat to an animal shelter. And I actually surrendered him twice. The first time I surrendered him towards the end of April, and I prayed about it, I cried about it, and I knew in my spirit it was the right thing to do. But it was just so hard to let go. And even though I surrendered him, 24 hours later, I was calling the place, begging them to let me get him back. Once I got him back, things were good for a few days. And then it's like he got 10 times worse. At first, he was pooping outside the litter box. And it was annoying, but it wasn't to the point where I was like, oh my God, like, I can't take anymore. Like, it was annoying, but I was just trying to figure out what is going on? Why is he doing this? And I surrendered him the first time because I'm like, this is just too much. Like, he's pooping all over the apartment. Like, I'm constantly, like, when I come home, I don't know what to expect. So I surrendered him the first time, but then I got him back because I was anxious. They say obedience is better than sacrifice. And I had to learn the hard way. Once I got him back, he was good for a few days. He was consistently using the litter box. And then all of a sudden, he started peeing outside the litter box too, peeing all over the apartment. And I'm literally waking up at 6 in the morning, cleaning up pee, crying. I'm being very transparent with y'all. I'm up at 6 in the morning, mopping up pee, putting towels in the washer, like just crying and just like asking God, like, I don't understand. Why are you doing this? Like, I prayed about it. I don't know why he's doing this. Like, I've tried all these different things that they suggest, and it seems like nothing is working. And I ended up taking him to the vet because I'm like, maybe it's something wrong with him. And they ran all these tests and they're like, no, he's completely healthy. All his tests came back great. we're going to give you this anxiety medicine for him. And maybe because he has a disorder, get him a new litter box that has like a lower entry point because he has something called cerebellar hypoplasia. So, long story short, he's really clumsy and, he's kind of like a drunken cat. He's like very wobbly. So I did all the things they suggested, paid $250 to take him to the vet and have them run all these tests and give him this anxiety medicine. I spent $50 on a new litter box, like just doing everything I could to keep him. But he just kept getting worse. Like almost every single day, I was mopping up pee, washing towels. It was like poop in different parts of the apartment. It got so bad. It got so bad. I ended up bleeding. My lady part started bleeding 2 weeks after I already had my cycle. And I'm like, hold on, why am I bleeding when I was just on my period 2 weeks ago? And I knew it was stress. It was the stress. And I tried so hard to hold on, even though I knew in my spirit, God told me to let go. I tried so hard to hold on. And what finally made me let go and say, I have to give him up once and for all. What finally made me let go is one morning I woke up to poop and pee in my bedroom, on the carpet of my bedroom. And I'm just like, and this was after I started bleeding in between my period when I just recently had my period. So I was like, Lord, I surrender. I'm actually listen to you this time and I'm gonna let him go once and for all. And I'm gonna be honest, that was the hardest thing I've ever had to do because I love that little cat. I love that little creature. And it was so hard for me to let go. I felt so much guilt because I knew like everything he's been through. And I just felt so guilty and I just had so much empathy for him. But I knew that it was taking a toll on my well being and my mental health. And yeah, I was like, you know what, Lord? Obedience is better than sacrifice. I should have listened to you the first time. And I went ahead and let him go. And I'm literally just in a season of surrendering, like left and right. I've been having so many unexpected expenses come up. The stuff with me having to surrender my cat, which is ironic how giving your animal to an animal shelter is called surrendering. So I'm like, Lord, I don't understand like why you're doing this. Like, why am I constantly being hit with test after test after test? But in my spirit, my higher self knows it's because God is just preparing me. He's not punishing me. He's preparing me for all the things that I pray for. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. There's a process of preparation that has to happen for you to receive those big blessings you've been praying for. Because with big blessings comes big responsibilities. And I constantly have to remind myself of that. And I constantly have to remind myself to just trust God and trust the process and don't complain. Ever since I moved to Atlanta, I've had to let go in so many ways to the point where I'm just like, it is what it is. Do whatever you want with me, God. I don't even care anymore. I have no attachment. Let your will be done. The only thing I'm attached to is you because I realize God is the only thing I can attach myself to because God is the only thing that's permanent. God is the only thing that's everlasting. Everything else is temporary. So a while back, I watched an interview of Oprah talking about how she ended up in Color Purple. Before it was a movie script, it was first a book. And she said when she read the book, she was obsessed. And one of the characters' name in the book was her name spelled backwards. So when she found out they were doing a movie for it, she was like, I have to be in this movie. It's destined for me to be in this movie because one of the characters' name is my name spelled backwards. So she auditions for the movie. Weeks go by, she doesn't hear anything back. So she calls the casting agent. And he was like, you don't call me, I call you. And we have real actresses coming in, pretty much implying you didn't get the part. So she hangs up the phone and she just feels confused and frustrated with God. Like, I don't understand. I thought you wanted me to have this part. I don't know if this is a trick or a joke. Like, I don't understand, God, but I know you do. And she starts singing this song to herself. I surrender all. I surrender all. And she's just singing that to herself, pretty much saying, I surrender to you, God. And literally a few minutes later, she gets a call from the director saying that she got the part. Now, I'm going to be real. Things usually don't happen that quick when you surrender, but that's just a testament to what happens when you do surrender and you let God be God and you let God have his way. Like I said, surrendering to God is scary, but it's so freeing. And I'm going to be real. I don't know all the plans God has for me, but I don't need to know. I don't need to know the details because I just trust him. I just trust that whatever he got planned for me is going to be good. Once you get to that point where you completely surrender, and I'm going to be real, it took me a long time to get to this point. It took me holding on to things for dear life and having no choice but to let them go in order for me to get to this point where I'm just like, Lord, do whatever you want. I don't care. I trust you. I don't want to be in control anymore. I want you to be in control because I know that the plans you have for my life are way better than the plans that I have for myself or that I thought I wanted. I pray this message was helpful. If it was, make sure you like it, make sure you subscribe. If you're in need of spiritual guidance, I do offer coaching sessions. My website will be in the description box, and I hope to see you guys soon. Bye.